The term I see a lot with you, man, is
Bad.
never bad. Not once have they ever said you're bad. What they say is underrated. How do you feel about that term?
I've never gotten to play roles on camera like I've gotten to play in games. I just threw up green pea soup like
Oh no.
across the floor.
You must have been
It was
mortified.
Oh, it was. And I was like, oh
Oh.
my God. And the response from the animator team was like, that was dope. We got Noshir to puke. Like, it was. I can give Erika anything, and I know that they're gonna make magic with it. My heart breaks for Bode every time I think about him. I have such love for him, and there were some moments where I had to fight like desperately for him. The last week that we were shooting, which was all of the really hard stuff with Bode, was also the week that our new child was conceived. So yeah, so when my wife was pregnant, I would sing Ghost Star to her belly. When our kid was born, like they had really bad GERD, and like it was just miserable for them, and they wouldn't sleep. And the one thing that would get them to sleep was if I sang Ghost Star. So yeah, so all that to say, Bode has a place very dear to my heart. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, look who we have on the show here. Noshir, how are you, man? Thank you for coming on.
Oh, dude, I'm great, Dan. And thanks so much for having me. I know it took a while for me to gather up the courage to sit down with you, but thank you for your patience and your grace.
How have you been, man? How's things? How's the family? Keeping busy, keeping safe?
Keeping busy, keeping safe. I mean, as you know, I'm in the U.S., so things are definitely volatile right now, and um, so I think a lot of it is also becoming for my wife and I about also trying to look out for our neighbors and people we can. So finding the causes that we can support, and also remembering that we still need to be able to support ourselves, which immediately post strike and all this other stuff has been a challenge. So a lot of challenges, but the fact of the matter is like my family is safe, my family is healthy. I've got a, a little one running around and experiencing things that I take for granted as like wondrous joys.
The
Like
little
how can I,
things, yeah.
yeah, how can you not look at the world with wonder when you watch the way they experience, I don't know, their first snowfall or, like I now like driving around will like my kid loves vehicles. So and like I will be completely by myself and I'll be like, "Ooh, excavator," and then realize like they're not there. You know what I mean? And I'm still excited because like that energy has just become so contagious for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's actually been a wonderful reminder of like how important perspective is. So
I
trying to be grateful.
100% agree, man. My
Yeah.
son, yeah. It's the little things, and you just kind of, I don't know, I wake up happier now. I don't know about if you're the
I'm
same, but
sure when you wake up, which means that you've actually gotten sleep, which I don't think happens
yeah, yeah.
very much for you. But
Yeah,
yeah, man,
besides the
I
sleep
totally
thing,
agree.
yeah.
Um,
Have you, so I know you're busy, but do you still get a chance to get in and play some games here and there, man?
before before our kid entered the picture, I was such a avid gamer, and I love like story-driven, single-person narrative epics. But I don't play games that I'm in.
What do you mean? What
I've
do you
never
mean
played
you
a game
don't?
I'm in.
Oh, come on. You're
I can't
kidding.
do it. I can't
No,
do it.
you've
I'd
lost the
probably
plot,
throw up
man.
or I'd
Come on. You've absolutely lost the plot.
We were doing
What?
so well, Dan. We were
What
doing
are
so well.
you? Oh, God, yeah. So you don't play games you're in. Yep. Yep.
I now get to treat you as a hostile witness. Um,
Uh,
and then, it's just the fact that like, especially because I was doing a lot of motion capture, um, I was so busy making games that I wasn't really finding the time to play games, which is kind of like pathetic and also at the same time kind of like that's what a ridiculously cool thing to be able to say. But
yeah.
like now being a dad, like the day just like it's like you wake up and like all of a sudden it's time to put kiddo to
I
bed
know.
and
I
like
know.
and then I'm is the only time when I can really get to work and then it's like two
Too
in the
tired?
morning and I'm like
Yeah.
I'm done and like and you're just passing out and then you're waking up again, to I don't know, kiddo kicking you in the face or whatever. But
Hmm.
so like I don't have a PS5.
Don't you?
I don't have a gaming PC. I haven't played games in a
So
minute.
what have you
So
got? PS4.
yeah. And I mean that's not even like connected right now. Like all the games that that I would want to play right now are PS5 or like, Steam. So
So what's the last
um
game you finished?
oh man,
And when was it?
this is gonna be bad. Like
We're
the last game
exposing
I
you now.
finished, the last game I
Yeah.
finished.
Yeah.
Well, I played Last of Us, and then I think, wow, it might be Horizon Zero Dawn because I played that because
Ah.
I started getting brought in to do motion capture, like just ancillary stuff on Horizon Forbidden West. I don't know what's going on here, but this world is cool. And I was like, and it's a sequel apparently. So I went back and, I was like, oh, Zero Dawn, it's like giant robot dinosaurs. I don't know about, I don't know what, you grew up in Australia, right? I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys ever had Zoids growing up. Do you know what Zoids
Um,
are?
I think so. I'm not
So
fully familiar. Yeah.
having a Japanese grandmother, like I got shipped Zoids, which were these like plastic kind of model prehistoric dinosaurs and like giant robots. It was like King Kong and Godzilla and like
Yeah. Yeah.
pterodactyls and all that stuff, but they were like futuristic mechanical robots with like this built-in engine so they could like walk and they'd have like LEDs and stuff. They were super, super dope. So like when Horizon Zero Dawn, like when I actually started playing it, it was like, oh my God, this is like Zoids in a game. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And then of course I was just blown away by Ashley Birch's performance and the world that they'd created. Guerrilla did some stuff that just like blew my mind as far as like the scope and the artistry of the worlds they made. Um, and then lo and behold, I ended up getting to audition for who ended up being Kotallo, and the rest was history. But yeah, so that may be the besides stuff like Limbo and like
Limbo. Yeah.
smaller platforming games like oh, did I finish? Oh God, my
I
brain.
know. I know. No,
The other
you've
part.
done well to
No,
think too. Yeah.
what's the game? The sequel just came out. They wear the white masks with the black eyes. It's a Metroidvania game.
Hollow Knight.
What? Yeah, Hollow Knight. Thank you. Yeah,
Yep.
I remember playing. I think I got really close to beating Hollow Knight, and then my life just went like totally insane. But um, that was another one that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Maybe. Probably not best to play Silk Song Man. I played
Yeah.
that
I've heard
this
it's
year. No,
brutal.
it's not.
I've heard it's
Yeah,
brutal.
it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. But it's a great game from
I mean, I'd love
Australia.
Kotallo.
That game built from Australia. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Three guys. Yeah. Incredible talent.
Have you interviewed those guys yet?
No, they're pretty private people, but I'd love to.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. They don't do many interviews, but they stay out of the limelight. But they're very talented son of a bitches.
Probably smart. Oh man, and their art style is just like
Oh yeah.
wow. I love that. I love that. It was great.
Um, with Horizon, I
Mhm.
really loved, and I play so many games, man. So it's hard for me to remember everything of all these games. But from memory, he lost his arm, and I love that they didn't make it some stupid arm that's really strong. You know, in these games where you'll get this bionicle arm, and they'll be super powered.
Like a Winter
Now,
Soldier arm or
yeah, you know
whatever.
what I mean? He
Yeah.
kind of he was learning to adapt with the arm. I love that, man. It was
Yeah.
just you don't see that much. And that was the one thing I remembered. And also I remember him being kind of funny too.
They wrote some really good like it's one of those things where like in games you unless you're the star, you usually don't get a lot of time with the character before it's like you're on set.
Yeah.
Um so a lot of it was kind of happening, in the moment. But I remember being on the mocap stage for that was an unkind comparison. And the response in the room was really great. And I was like, oh, okay, we found something cool there, you know what I mean? Um, That
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. That was a lot of
You
fun.
say you're nervous for this interview. Are you nervous heading into the performance capture, the
Oh
volume?
yeah,
You
yeah.
are?
Oh yeah, for sure. And like when I do like tabletop like Critical Role or whatever. Whoa.
Oh, that would be nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I threw up every day on my way to set. Like I had a ritual. There was a park on my way to Critical Role. I'd pull over, throw up,
You're
brush my
kidding.
teeth, and
You're
go, no,
joking.
I was scared to death, but it was so much fun, you know. Those guys are awesome. And really like I learned so much as an actor working with those guys, both from the things that were wonderful that came out of it and also from my failures. Um, there were definitely things that like, you know, if I'm ever back at the table, I will do differently. And the big lesson throughout all of it was like to trust in the moment and like to put the faith in your peers that if you take that leap, you know, the net will be there, you know. Or if you're working with a DM like Abria, that she'll just give you wings and you'll just, you know what I mean?
Do you feel like you held back a bit?
There were moments where, looking back, I I held back because I think I'm so new to the genre. I wasn't sure how to do a particular storytelling moment.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, I mean, I definitely I pride myself on taking big swings. Um, and I think in every instance I've taken really good big swings. I think one of the things that's been really hard for me with tabletop is you have to learn to understand the time that you're given. Like on Thresher, which I think was the last thing I did, like my character actually had a bunch of really cool abilities that were a secret that I was like, all right, when it comes down to like that 11th hour, I'm gonna freaking go bananas. And then like 11th hour came and went and I didn't even know it had happened. You know what I mean? And like
Ah,
we were
okay.
ending and I was like, what? Like I didn't even get to
Oh
do
no.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
One of those
yeah.
things where it's like,
You got to pull the trigger when, yeah,
yeah, and like just like understanding better. It's like on camera, one of the things that a lot of the really, really great stars, not all of them, but a lot of them are really good at is like they've mastered the technical stuff about playing to camera and knowing where the camera is and therefore how that story is being told. And you can see it in their craft, you know, it adds a refinement to what they do. And I think in tabletop, one of those things that I just have to learn with more exposure is like what is the length of story that I get to play today and like
yeah.
how do I go all out without like blowing my load too early, you know what I mean? But still playing out all the stuff I want to play. Um,
I think you got to cut yourself some slack as well. Come on, man.
well, I appreciate. I mean, I try to,
Seriously,
but
God,
like
they're a
uh,
well-oiled machine, aren't they? I mean, geez.
Critical Role. I mean, those
Yeah.
guys are. Well, first of all, they've been doing it for a long, long time, but also, I mean, especially now having to get to work alongside so many of them from all sort of different tabletop crews. I've come to understand like what masters they are of their craft. You know, it's awesome to see. Um, it's awesome to see, and like to be at a table and like you know toss something up and watch Sam Riegel or Liam or Brennan just like smash it. Um, is epic. It's awesome.
Speaking of throwing up, what's the story of you with the green soup?
Wow. Oh God, that's from what MCM
I do
London.
my
So,
research, man. All right. Yeah.
oh
Tell us
God.
that story.
So, back in the day, back in the day before I had the privilege of doing like a ton of full performance capture,
Yeah.
I did a lot of motion capture, which I still love to this day. I just don't get to do as much of it. And so I had the pleasure of, thanks to a good friend of mine, Darren Ross, who at the time worked at Blur Studios, I had the pleasure of working with the team at Blur a lot. And
Mm.
one of the things they do better than almost anyone I've ever heard of is cinematic trailers, right, for video games. Um,
Cutscenes are phenomenal, yeah, as well.
oh yeah, so like I got to work on like the trailer for The Division and like
Oh, yeah.
like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and um, I got to do a lot of like Halo Master Chief Collection cinematics and stuff through them. Um, and they were doing a cinematic trailer for I think it was Shadows of Mordor,
Oh, yeah.
and it was the scene where Celebrimbor is forging the ring, right? And so I was doing the mocap for that, and then like there's an explosion, and he gets like kind of tossed like across the room, and they wanted him to like have this like coughing, wheezing thing as he kind of like tries to struggle to his feet. I hit the ring with a hammer, I get jerked back and I go flying across the room, but like we had just had Crafty, and then I'm in this vest and like this, getting like compressed and jerked across the room. And then I'm like, forcing myself to like cough and heave and do all this stuff.
Oh,
And like
no.
I just had like green pea soup.
Oh.
And normally I don't eat lunch like when I'm on a set just because, especially if you're doing
Oh.
stunts, it's just like you just never know what's gonna happen. And like
Were you feeling ill?
no, it's one of those things where
Really?
like
Yeah.
it like and this happens to me in the volume too, or in the booth too. If I have to do that like wet hacking, coughing, retching kind of thing, sometimes my gorge will like, and it'll be like, whoa, I gotta take a second because like if I'm not careful, I'm gonna throw up. You know what I mean? And I think I was just the combination of like the jerk and then the landing and all of that, and having just eaten and like I just threw up green pea soup like
Oh, no.
across the floor.
You must have
It
been
was
mortified.
Oh, it was, and I was like, oh my
Oh.
God. And the response from the animator team was like, that was dope. We got Noshir to puke. Like it was. I thought it was gonna be like I was gonna be in so much trouble. Instead, they were all like high fiving and
Oh,
stuff, and I
that's
was like,
good. That's
y'all are
good.
a bunch of sick motherfuckers. But it was a lot of fun, and that crew like anytime I got to work with the Blur Studios crew, it's like working with you get to hang out with a bunch of your friends. It's a really great time. So I miss those guys a lot.
You've done a lot of stunts for games, haven't you?
Um, Not compared to like the really cool guys. Like, I mean, you talk about like Jasiri Booker um, or Maggie McDonald or like Seth Allen Austin. Some of these folks like they are legit and they do bonkers stuff. Or like Darren Ross's stunt crews. They're just amazing. I am not that cool. I'm like I have a martial arts background. I have a firearms and combatives background. I've got a lot of training. So they'll bring me in for stuff like that. But like, I mean, if you like bring out the trampoline and you want like flips and stuff, that's Seth Ross and Siri all day. Like, I look like the hippo in Fantasia when that stuff happens. Like
Hey,
it's horrible.
I've seen you do some really cool kicks that look quite realistic and
Oh,
I mean,
thanks. I mean, I like my martial
spinning
arts
kicks. I don't know
background
what you call
is
them. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, depending on the style, I guess it depends. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely capable of doing a lot of that kind of stuff. Um, though I would never call myself like like a stunt professional or anything like that.
Does it get harder with age? These kicks?
Yes. I mean, what I'll say is like it gets
Uh,
harder. Like the struggle for me is just like I think I think anyone can be a parent, but like being a good parent is really, really hard. And a big part of that is also our child is immune compromised, so like we've never had a babysitter, we've never had a caretaker, and we have no family around to like assist us. So it's just us. Um, so, if I'm working, my wife Sharon has the baby full time. And I love our little one, but they are a lot, Um, and always getting into something. Like there's no relaxing, while you're taking care of this kiddo. So, um, there's always something going on. You're in,
Yeah.
it's like also if I don't commit, like oftentimes my job is I take Nala, our dog, and the kiddo out and like, we run on the backyard or we go to the local town square and like watch the trains and stuff. Like my thing is usually like getting everyone out to like out into the sun and, burning a bunch of energy and doing that stuff and hopefully giving Sharon a little bit of time to just read a book or bang out auditions or just lay there
Sit
inert for like a
there.
second. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
she usually ends up using the time to like, for accounting or some other thing I'm horrible at. So, um, she really is like MVP. But as a result, like, I mean, I've got a very nice gym like 20 feet that way that has barely seen my lazy ass in like, 2 years.
Oh, you
It's
got the dad bod coming on.
oh, I mean, like, I'm lucky that like I'm still in considerably better shape than probably the average person, and like I'm still moving. I'm just not moving the way I'm used to moving. You know what I mean? Um, and that has to change. Like I'm
You still
slowly
eating? You
making
still eating
progress.
good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to eat pretty healthy. I generally intermittent fast, so I'm usually it's not as strict as it normally is, but I'm usually 20 hours off, 4 hours on. Um,
When are you on dinner?
Usually, in order for me to time it out so like I can be there for like kiddos' bedtime and stuff, it's usually like 4 to 8, something like that. Yeah. When I do it well, it really, really works. But I definitely need to exercise some discipline there as of late.
Even when you even when you're on set, you don't eat until you get done. You
Oh,
have the
especially when I'm
energy?
on set. Oh,
You
I have
have
more energy when I fast.
really?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it could all be completely in my head. I guess
Hey,
my
if it
thought is
works for
like,
you.
even if it is, yeah, if it's effective, then I don't care. But I think the thing for me is, especially because like I'm usually already nervous about whatever the project is and whatever, like if I eat and then I've, in addition to that, got my anxiety going or whatever, or like if I eat lunch and then we go in and we have to do like some really powerful emotional or intimate scene and like we're trying to do this thing and I'm in the zone, it's like my stomach's just going crazy. Like I can't like just the thought of it. Like no, I'm definitely not eating lunch. I'm definitely waiting until this shoot is over.
And,
Oh,
and
I usually work out during my lunch breaks if I can, but
do you have a certain amount of calories? I love how this has just gone off again.
oh man, we're all over the place. I love
I
it.
know, I know.
I don't have like a calorie count
No.
really. I think the thing I've learned is like if I'm not careful, like because it doesn't really matter for me the calories so much as what is it I'm actually eating. Like if I make sure that my primary thing is protein, fats, and vegetables, then I know I'm gonna be all right. Um, when my primary portion is carbs, I'm always screwed. Like it's a death sentence for me. So,
Man,
um,
I love my carbs.
oh,
I
you and me
I
both.
can't get away from them, man. There's nothing I can do. I've just have to live with them, man. Sadly, I'm going to be a carb man for the rest of my life. There's nothing I can do.
I mean,
You can't pull me away from them.
I like. I mean, I'll
Oh.
murder a fool for a pizza, or like, and I'd gladly, shiv my neighbor for a lasagna. But um, so I definitely know what you mean.
The term I see a lot with you, man, from my subscribers and fans, whenever you pop up in things, is
Bad.
never bad. Not once have they ever said you're bad. I'll tell you right now. Um, what they say is underrated. They always say, oh, she
Hmm.
is underrated. How do you feel about that term, being an underrated actor?
I don't know. I'm trying to think about what the hell that means.
Yeah.
Like undervalued or underappreciated or underestimated? Hmm.
Do you feel those things?
No. Um, I feel very, very fortunate. I mean, like especially coming from like theater and then, going the TV route, like I've never gotten to play roles on camera like I've gotten to play in games. Um, and I think because of the medium that is video games, like, you could spend dozens of hours with me, in essence, and like really get to know my character in a way that even in a feature film, you're never going to get to do. You might be able to do it in a TV series that goes for like seasons, but I've never had that pleasure.
Mm.
I think it's also really cool I get to explore characters like Kotallo and Jubei and like under beautiful and wild circumstances that like where else would I get to tell stories like that? You know what I mean? Um, I'm grateful for those moments and I'm grateful for those opportunities. I will gladly play like those roles to the end of my days and be very, very happy. Um, I I hope undervalued means that people like what I'm doing and it just means that they want to see more, I hope.
No,
Um,
that's it.
I
Really.
certainly hope I can oblige them. Um, I guess that's the cool thing about acting, right? Like I hope it means it's something I can do, to the end of my days. Like the idea of retiring for me is like,
Same here,
wow,
man. I don't want
why
to
would I want to do
retire.
that?
I love
Yeah,
it. I love what I do. Yeah.
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 It's been a really hard road to get here, and like even now, the thing that always makes me laugh is like, people be like, man, like, Noshir's played like all these roles. He must be rolling in it. And it's like, oh, buddy, if only you knew, like, games doesn't pay
No,
like
no.
that. So like, when times like when I don't have a lot of work coming in, things can be things can get tight. Or like right after the strike and stuff like that. I don't know, I love what I get to do. Like I love what I get to do. And I hope I get to do it for a long, long time.
Yeah,
And
I
performance
mean,
capture is for sure my favorite way to do it. So for sure, for sure, for sure.
Jennifer English, I had her on this year, earlier this year. She was in Expedition 33, great game.
Yeah.
She was in Elden Ring, Game of the Year contender, Baldur's Gate 3. And she said the same thing. I don't make enough to kind of live. And I think people don't even realize like that's crazy. You're in three
Yeah.
Game of the Years. Just people think they're millionaires. And it's just not like that, is it, for
No,
a lot of the
no.
time?
I mean,
Um,
I think like I think maybe if you get to be the star of like a massive franchise or something, but even then, those contracts are definitely different, but like the average actor, even if they're playing really large supporting roles, that's paycheck to paycheck, day to day. It's not like, and there's no royalties, there's no residuals. Um, so you're making money as long as you're recording in the studio or going into the volume and doing performance capture. But as soon as that game wraps, your pay is done. So,
that's why Streamily and these cons are so good. That's why I try and counter them. No, you tell me.
well, I'm very new to the con game. I think I really only started exploring cons during the strike because we were in like a really, really rough spot. Um, and
Sorry to hear, man. By the way.
oh, thanks. Like I was trying my best to hold the line with a bunch of actors who I greatly respect and greatly admire for a cause which is critical, which is the longevity of our industry.
AI, yeah. For anyone that doesn't
Yeah.
know, yeah.
And more than that, I remember. Sorry, I'm going off all over the place, but I remember. I think it was an anthropologist being asked like, "What was the first example of like civilization that you've ever seen?" And I think her answer was the first time they recovered a skeleton that had um, a fused a fused femur,
Hmm.
because that meant that that individual had broken their femur, which in and of itself can be a life-ending injury, right? But a human being that breaks their femur out in the wilds back in the day had zero chance of surviving. In order for you to repair your femur bone, it meant that someone stayed with you. Someone looked after you and took care of you, brought you food, got you to shelter, made sure you stayed safe long enough for that bone to heal. And that was her example of the first real signs of civilization, because that is humans helping one another. Helping someone that it may have zero interest, personally in personal gain for you, and it comes at great cost. And I think this strike was, for me, a wonderful example of a lot of actors taking really hard hits and turning down work on games, and work they desperately needed, not only for themselves, but for the generation that comes after. There were games that I wasn't working on where they approached me and offered me contracts with AI protections written into the contract, you know, everything that we were striking for. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, the entire cast gets this? And the answer was like, no, this is for you, and you would not be allowed to tell people that you have it.
Really?
Yeah, and I had to turn it
Ah,
down, because
damn.
I couldn't work alongside, like, especially like if you have a certain amount of star power, you might have the league, the clout from your agent, and also like if you have an entertainment lawyer, which I don't, but like if you're at that level, you can flex all that and guarantee certain protections if they want to work with you that badly. But think about the beginner who's like, it's their first time getting to work on a game, and it's a franchise that like they grew up loving, and now like they get this opportunity and all they have to do is sign this contract, and like, yeah, the AI protections aren't there, but like you get to be in this thing, like of course they're gonna take it. And if I have a part in allowing that to move forward, and then like, 3 years from now, there's a mobile game from the Prince of Saudi Arabia that has now their likeness in it running around with their voice, I'm gonna feel like a fucking asshole. You know what I mean? Um,
Are
and I
there
think
com
the other, what'd you say? Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I just like, and I think that was another part of it. Like, we want to believe that like folks have our best interests in mind, and I know the folks that I work with in the volume or in the studio, they definitely have my best interests in mind. But when companies get sold to other companies, all of that is gone. You know what I mean? So like that's why these protections are so important and need to be like baked into contracts. It's not enough to rely on the goodwill of people that you like in the industry, because there's no guarantee. I mean, how many games have I worked on where the entire studio got shelved, and the game brought over to a totally different company or what have you? Like, you just never know what's going to happen. It's precarious times.
Are there companies that were really good with the AI and that were just really compliant, like gaming studios that
Well, I mean, I won't speak for the companies because I don't know the companies. You know what I mean? Like the CEOs of almost all of those companies, absolutely not. Like the C-suites and like the folks that were responding to investors, no, they don't. They didn't really care about us. What they cared about was this would be an awesome way for them to reduce costs and increase profits, and that goes to the shareholders. And frankly, for a lot of these companies, unfortunately, that's all they care about, right? They don't realize that like this is an art studio, and if you
yeah.
lose the art side of it, like, and then you wonder why these companies in these games tank. You know what I mean? Um, but what I will say is like every studio I've ever worked with, like during the strike, there was staff from every single game studio that would reach out to me and be like, "Hey, we're rooting for you, and we hope you get the things you deserve."
Even the
Because
heads of these studios?
I mean, the heads weren't reaching out to me; they don't know me
No, no,
at all,
I know, I know,
But like,
but
I'm talking boots on the ground, the folks, the
okay.
the directors, the animators, the effects folks, the
Yeah,
programmers, QA folks, writers, like these are the folks that I
the
interact
artists,
with.
yeah.
I don't talk to the CEOs of any of these companies. They don't know who I am. Half the time they don't know the games that their companies are making.
No,
That is
I
not,
know.
for a lot of them, that is not their concern. I wish it was. I really do.
Yeah. No, it is. You're right. It's a very interesting time. So the last one on that, the protections are there was a good result in the end, and things are looking up. Would you say or not?
I mean, it's a negotiation, right? Which means that you're never going to get everything you want.
Hmm.
And there's plenty of stuff that everyone in the negotiating committee wishes we had secured, including, and maybe especially, at least for people like myself and Seth on the negotiating committee, like we really wish that there were better protections for motion capture artists, for movers, you know. But we didn't have that leverage, and frankly, there were a lot of motion capture artists who decided to stop working on those games to help give solidarity to the union. But union motion capture actors stepped right up to fill those gaps and took those jobs, which meant that we had no leverage. You know what I mean? Um, and I understand that people need to work. I do. If the choice was either like, provide for yourself and your family or hold the line, I think that choice is easy. But I think for a lot of them, that wasn't the situation. You know what I mean? And I think there was a lot of folks who were very myopic in that moment, and really just saw the moment and the money and the opportunity for what it was, not really considering that 5 years from now they may find themselves out of work because these studios now have digital versions of all of their moves.
Is that what it is? It's the protection of once you do that one stunt or move, they can use that for 20, 30 years. Is that kind of what we're talking
I
about
mean,
here?
that's a big part of it, right? Like the
Yeah.
idea that like when you do performance capture or motion capture, by necessity, your performance is being fully digitized, right?
Mm.
Now there's an art on the back end of that because like essentially what's digitized is a bunch of dots moving in 3D space. And then there's a whole team of animators and stuff that have to go in, clean up that data,
Yeah.
make it crisp, put in details that either didn't show up because of, the limits of the technology or didn't show up because your character does something that bends the laws of physics and human beings just can't do, right? And that's where
Mm.
the animators really get to do their thing. Um, but at the end of the day, that data is now, you know,
Yeah.
owned by the company. And what we were looking for is just protections to be like, so you're not going to just take that data that you now have as like a file and just insert it into your next project without asking, without paying, without, like, right? Right? You know what I mean? And
And they're like, no, fuck you, we will.
I mean, well, we're now in a position
Uh,
where while even if we have some of those protections for motion captures for motion capture artists, even if we have those protections in name, enforcing those protections is going to be really hard. Like,
how you know? Is that what you
like,
mean? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, the studio can say we won't do it, but if they do, how are you're gonna have to see the move, be like, that's mine. I know that's me because that's a signature move and this is exactly how I do it, right? And then you're gonna have to prove that. Like it gets really, really complicated. And that's why those protections are so important. Like we need to set a precedent and also make it really hard for that kind of stuff to be exploited by bad actors. Um, to give our performers as much protection as we can. Um, that's really, really important to me. My whole career in games started with motion capture on the Order 1886. I would not be where I am today without
Was that your
having that.
first?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, man, that game that's kind of an underrated game, going back to that word, but that I love that game kind of. I just
It was such a
yeah.
beautiful. idea. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
I think the end result ended up being almost like an interactive movie or an interactive book
like a
more
tech
than
demo. Yeah,
like a game
yeah.
in the way that most gamers would perceive it. Um, but God, what a
But even then,
gorgeous
man, I didn't
game.
mind playing through it. I really enjoyed it, even
Yeah,
though it was
yeah.
lacking the gameplay. I guess it was still, yeah.
But I think that's the thing, right? If you were okay with that, or you could like release that expectation,
Mm.
there was a beautiful story there, and like and a gorgeous world that was built, and amazing characters and stuff like that. Um,
So were you the werewolf? Were you running around as a werewolf?
I did motion capture for the werewolf. I
You
did a lot
did.
of stuff for yeah.
Hilarious.
I did a lot of stuff for
I could tell it was you.
I mean,
Uh,
but I was one of many. I know Anthony Nanakornpanum did some of that. I don't know if Henry Layton did, but there were Dan Southworth probably did too. Like there
oh
were
yeah, yeah, yeah.
a bunch of super talented folks that were on that before I joined the team. So,
So was your first big, would you say your first big role was Red Dead 2 or not?
well, my first full performance capture role ever was Lieutenant Khalil in Black Ops 3 for
Three.
Call of Duty.
Yes.
That was my first experience with full performance capture at all. Um, and that was really cool. That was a really fun experience, and the team was awesome. I mean, I got to work with and become friends with like Rachel Kimsey, who kicks ass in that game. Um, a lot of fun, and that was back when like they were still like using glue and like putting actual like dots on your face. So I would like, I would like eat it in a particular moment or a stunt or whatever, and like come up and like some of my dots would be on the floor or like they'd be in my mouth or like some ridiculous thing. Um, but it was a lot of fun. That was a really cool game to work on.
This is Agent 47. Subscribe to Dan Allen Gaming. He's a great guy.
He was the lead of the Egyptian resistance. So he was kind of like a freedom fighter, and like, your player character,
That's
they were all like cybernetic, like enhanced, like super soldiers of the future, and he's this flesh and blood guy trying to do the right thing and hoping, because he can't control these guys. Um, it's actually funny. This was my first example of like standing up for a character story wise in the volume and getting support from the dev team. There was a scene where like nothing is going the way I had hoped, and like I think I ended up like like yelling at the player character and basically being like, you've totally screwed me, like like what are we gonna do now, like all of my people are gonna die. And it turns out that like the player character or one of the other major characters had done some clever things to kind of have a potential workaround, but me as Khalil, I still don't know how this is going to go. And this is Call of Duty. So a lot of times the note was like louder, harder,
I've heard that. I've
it's
heard
just like
that. Yeah.
everything is war, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And after we'd done the scene, and I think at the end of it, like it was supposed to be like something like, and like Khalil's like, and I hope you're right, like, and he like storms off. And when we got done with the scene, the team was like, "So what do you think?" Like, and they were really happy with it. And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's good." And they were like, "What is that? Like, what? Like, if you have a concern, please speak your piece." And I just said, "Well, I have no power over these guys. These guys are like RoboCop, you know what I mean? And I'm just a guy. I'm kind of at their mercy at this point, you know what I mean?
Mm, mm.
So what if instead of me like screaming at them, which is kind of like just bluster, right? What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
If instead that moment was much more a vulnerable moment of like, I hope you're right. Because what else can I do? You know what I mean? Like, I have to trust that you're gonna do the right thing. Because if you don't, my people are gonna die, and there's nothing I can do about it.
What a great choice. Yeah.
Well, I just mentioned it, but we'd already shot the scene, and mocap is like performance capture is expensive. That was like we shot that for a good chunk of time.
If anyone's got the budget, though, it's probably Call of Duty.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny like that budget doesn't necessarily trickle down to the team the way you'd hope it would.
I
You know
know,
what I
I know.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but a couple weeks later, I got called in, and on the call sheet was that scene again, and they actually shot the scene
Wow.
so that I could give Khalil that last moment. And like I was not prepared for that, and I was really worried that maybe I would have made them angry by saying that, but it was something that was kind of gnawing at me a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, and I was so grateful to the team for giving me the opportunity to show them a different way to do it. And I haven't played the game, but if I'm not mistaken, in that scene, that last moment, they do use the second version of it, um, which I was so grateful for. I think it brings especially in a game where it's mostly testosterone and screaming. Um, it gives Khalil a moment of humanity that I think is like really important because that puts the onus on the player to do the right thing. I'm not threatening you to do the right thing. I'm begging you to do the right thing, and I think that was really really cool of them.
What
So
other scenes of your career stand out for you
scenes of my career.
as the most proud? Because one comes to me, for anyone that hasn't played Ghosts of Yotei, maybe skip forward a little bit. But
Spoilers.
slight spoilers, the reuniting scene, I found
Mm.
that probably my favorite scene in the game, man. You and Erika,
Oh, that's awesome.
just brilliant. Yeah, just awesome scene where you're at the campfire. But yeah, I'm
Erica
curious
is
what for you, what scenes stand out?
well. Since you mentioned that scene, I'll talk about it a little bit. I love this about Sucker Punch and Nate and Billy and that entire team have my undying respect and admiration for this. Like a lot of teams are really great about trying to collaborate, as much as they can. But I don't think I've ever had an experience like Sucker Punches where like, let me see what you do. Just go for it. Usually stuff is laid out and like, okay, you're gonna sit here, this is gonna happen here, you guys have to move over here, and da 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 da. And while of course there are those moments out of necessity, um, for scenes like that, like we would talk about it and maybe kind of put it up on its feet a little bit. But I think I remember actually we had a plan for how that scene was gonna go. And I just, for whatever reason, felt like it felt like the freshness of the scene had kind of been uh, worked out a little bit too much.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
so I just asked the team, I was like, can I just wing it and see what happens? And the thing I'll always be grateful to Erica for is like you can throw anything at them and they will take what you give them and just hammer it back twice as hard in a beautiful way. I can give Erica anything and know that they're gonna make magic with it. You know what I mean? So like I had that full trust. So we started the scene and like Jubei kind of like the awkwardness of the scene and like the disbelief and everything led to me kind of like laughing, which we'd never rehearsed that. It was like, and it was like, it was awkward, you know what I mean? And took me by surprise. It was certainly not something I had planned, and I think that made it work, you know what I mean? And there's this beautiful tension. Like I've definitely had fans who were like, I don't understand. Like you guys are like, you've been separated all this time and you guys realize who each other and like you don't hug, you don't like there's nothing. It's like, but you don't understand. Like for both of us, there's a ton of baggage here. I've also seen a lot of people be like, well, Atsu's just like, completely like her heart is just set on revenge and it's super unhealthy, but Jubei is very balanced. No, Jubei is not balanced at all. He has done, like, they've had a horrible event happen and they dealt with it like this, you know?
Hmm.
Atsu Atsu has used it to fuel her rage, right? And drive her need for vengeance and her need to survive long enough to sate that hatred, right?
Hmm.
Jubei, for him, he has survivor's guilt, right? He failed to save his father. He failed to save his sister. Wakes up having been essentially taken care of by this samurai family and doesn't even have the courage to go back. You know, he just can't do it because it'll set in stone for him that he has lost everything. And so he instead, for all intents and purposes, kills that boy, right? That boy who was
Yes.
too weak to do the right thing. The boy that dreamed of being a samurai, but when push came to shove and the need was actually there, couldn't do a single one of the things that in his heart he thought he would do, you know? He murders that boy and becomes Lord Kitamori in its stead, right? But I think every act of honor that he does, every victory he wins, every foe he slays is a is an attempt to claw out of this debt, you know, this failure from his past, and he will never make it, you know? So his life is like a house of cards. He's built it around shame and failure. And instead of doing what Atsu's done, which is to look straight at it and drive through it, he has turned his back on it and tried to make it as if it has never happened, you know? And so Atsu is not just a long lost sister, but is a horrible flesh and blood reminder of everything he did wrong that night, right? And now, in addition to that, he abandoned her. He failed her twice by not going back to check to see if she was alive. You know what I mean? He had every reason to believe that she wasn't, but he didn't go back. And so I think that moment is so uncomfortable. Like there's a relief there, but at the same time, this entire persona that he's made, she threatens all of that, you know? So like there is a joy that comes from seeing her for the first time, but also this dread, like everything he's built could come collapsing down now at any minute, and she is like the embodiment of his shame right in front of him. Like we actually that was
You put it so eloquently, man. What you
oh,
did the
thanks,
last.
man. The I
Okay,
think that
continue,
was the
please.
scene. I think that was the scene that I auditioned with. I
No
think for
wonder
the
you got the role.
well, for the audition, if it wasn't that scene, it was a scene that was very similar. We had just kind of just recently reconnected,
Yeah.
and there was a moment where she's talking where I actually popped the katana, right? And like put my hand like and the thought is like I could bury my entire past right now if I strike her down
Wow.
because I think that is a part of where Jubei lives. And then he makes the decision to try to support her, right? Because he couldn't do that in the past and now he's going to do everything he can to make up for it. But there's a moment in that like when he stands up, right? Where did you get that sword? And she's like, you know, I found it off a whatever, dead man or whatever. And he stands up. My sword is in my left hand, right? And don't lie to me is like, if you say the wrong word right now, I'm gonna draw this blade. I'm gonna go right through you, you know? And then she's like, it was my father's. And as he collapses, he moves his sword to his right hand, right? As he sits, because as a right-handed swordsman, that is a position from which it is very hard to draw, right? So it's a moment where
Oh, the attention
now
to detail.
you know what I
That's
mean? And it was
crazy.
like
Yeah.
little moments like that for me that
Yeah.
like that's why I love performance capture because like you can have moments where stuff is going on and dialogue is happening, but like human communication is what, 80% body language, right? I can do all kinds of things that you might not even pick up on, or you pick up on it even subconsciously, right? That I never have to talk about. I don't need to use exposition for that. I don't need to like talk you through what's happening. I can just do it. And you're kind of that lizard brain part of you will pick up on something, even if you don't know what it is, you know? I love that. I think that's so cool.
I also love the reveal. Still a bit of spoiler territory, guys. Um, that he has a daughter.
Mm.
I actually didn't see that coming. That was a
I didn't
real
see that
cut.
coming either. I didn't find that out until like I
Really?
think we were like halfway through the game, and I was like, wait, what? And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, well, where's mom? Like, what? Like, and like, I think it changed a couple of different times. And there was even a version of it where it was something like she was the product of an affair or something, and
On your side or mum's side?
like it would have been like, or like out of wedlock. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
and I think I remember. I don't know that they were ever planning on keeping that. There may have just been an idea that was floating at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember saying, like, given everything Jubei has done to be like the teetotaler, like dot every I, cross every T, honorable as hell, that is a huge misstep. You know what I mean? And it doesn't feel like the kind of thing, a man who is so terrified of his failures that he is now going to
Yeah.
rewrite his legacy to be like a knight, like a golden example, like a paragon. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That seems like a pretty serious fuck up. You know what I mean? Like I was like that feels like he's slipping real bad. And I remember just saying that. I mean, the writers are gonna do what the writers are gonna do, and like it's my job to take that and make that work in the storytelling world. But the story eventually changed, and like when you know it was later like, oh no, she became really ill and died. I was like, oh thank God, like oh thank God. Because I was like, how do I match these? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
it would have been a bit of a dichotomy. Well,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
I
it might
mean,
not have.
and like humans are conflicted and they do things that don't make sense and all that. There's always that, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that felt for me like a bit of like a man, Jubei, you are just
Where are you,
you don't
man? Yeah.
ever get it right. You screw up.
Yeah. No, and man, it's just a hell of a performance, the whole thing. I mean, what's Erica like to work with?
I mean,
There.
so when I walked into the first audition was me just self-taping like 15 feet over that way in my little self-tape area. And then I got called back for an in-person callback. And it was the same scene, and I didn't have any other notes. Um, and I walked in, and I remember Erica was in a chair facing away from me, and they turn around, and I was like, Erica just ran to me, and like it was like one of those like oh my God, and like we like hugged, and I ended up like spinning them around, and I was just like, I don't care what happens now, like this is already like the best day ever. You know what I mean? Like
That's awesome. Yeah.
because I got to no matter what happened, and I wasn't sure if they were actually Atsu or if they were just a reader. Like I have no idea. Um, but I got to do scenes with, it's like I get to do a scene with Erica. This is gonna be fucking nuts. And
I'm guessing you
it
knew
was
each other.
awesome.
Like,
Well, it's funny, like we don't know each other like really well, but we kind of started our voiceover video game careers around the same time. So like I think we were like taking classes on occasion together, and like I would watch them ascend, and like Eric would send me congratulations on this gig or whatever. Like it was
right. Yeah, yeah,
we've
yeah.
always been friendly and like cared for each other, but I'd never had the good fortune to like work with them on anything.
That's
So that was
cool.
such a treat. And like and I have no idea what the other actors who went in for the role, what that was like. I'm sure they were all amazing in different ways. Um, but like Eric and I just like we popped in a way like And it wasn't just like that we were there to support each other. Like Erika would throw shit in my face. You know what I mean? Like Erika had no problem with like throwing stuff that could potentially trip me up. You know what I mean? Because that was the challenge that Jubei needed, you know, and vice versa. And I think that's one of the reasons that we worked so well together, because like there is this twin wolves sibling rivalry there, in addition to this like deep caring for one another. You know what I mean? Um, and I love that Erika brings that forth in Atsu. I mean, like Atsu's got so many snarky lines to Jubei. It's
Oh,
awesome.
I
Like
love that. Yeah,
yeah,
I love the siblings.
I had
Yeah.
so much fun with that. And like if we weren't doing full performance capture on the stage, we were doing uh face capture and with voiceover. So we were wearing like HMCs in the studio, but it was always Sucker Punch did a really cool thing where it was always the two of us in that studio
Oh,
together.
that's
So we were
sick.
always talking to one another. It was never like I was
I
listening to a recording of Erika do anything. It was
I knew it
awesome.
felt different. It's funny you say that. I can really tell. I think more
And
should do it. More get the two
I
actors in.
I
Yeah.
love that process. And Erica's just such a giving actor, but also like after every take, whoever they're in scenes with will be like, "That was so good, and you're so great." Like you know what I mean? It's always like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like you know, like every scene, it would be like cut, and like it was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Like let's do it again. Let's do it again. You know what I mean?
So
Like,
she's not quite
um,
the method actor type, is she?
oh man, can you imagine that with someone like Atsu? You'd be like, "Oh God, like I gotta watch you, and you know, I gotta get on suicide watch with you." I don't know. Um, No,
Uh,
she can turn on that kind of like really heavy, brooding, wounded animal and then like cut and just jump out of it. Um,
no, I think it was the best performance
so
of her
talented.
career, personally.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard. Like I can't judge because like I'm in it, you know what I mean? But all I can say is like working with Erica was such a highlight for me. Like they're they're crazy talented and so like even if the scene is like a fight, you know they're cheering you on. And I think that's
Yeah.
so cool, you know? That's so cool. And we had such an amazing cast. Like oftentimes if there was like other characters or support characters in the scene and it was either the actor that plays that character that was there with us or um Andrew Kishino, Big Kish, who I don't know if you know Kish well. Um Saw Gerrera from the from Clone Wars, um, and he voices a bunch of amazing characters in Ghost of Yotei. But like when you're a reader, it's easy to kind of dismiss your work as like I'm there to kind of
I'm not being
move things
recorded.
along.
Yeah.
Andrew always
That's
gives
cool.
everything, and like Kish would do stuff, and I'd be like, oh god damn it, like we got to do it again because like I was so busy being like, what did he just do that I totally fucked up my line? You know what I mean? Like he was the best. And also just like
Uh,
such a sweet, sweet guy. That whole cast was awesome. Susie, who plays Kiku, was incredible. Jeannie.
Susie's coming up the ranks. I see her. She was in
Oh man,
Silent Hill
Chainsaw
F,
Man and Silent Hill
Chainsaw
F.
Man.
Like,
Yeah, man.
yeah,
She's had a hell of a
crush it,
year. Yeah.
crush it. And it's funny because like in both characters, Bode and Jubei, I didn't get a lot of time with my daughters. You know what I mean? Um, and it's such a, I'm so grateful that in both Tajane and Susie, like the actors playing my daughters were top tier. Like
Oh, yeah.
we built
Oh, yeah.
like we walk on the stage and it's like chemistry, like that feels like it's been there forever. And that's such a testament to them as actors because like they made me so comfortable. Like I didn't, it was not something I ever had to worry about. Um, that was wild. That was
Talk,
wild.
talk to me about Bode because I think that might be your best performance. Well, in top three for sure. Um,
Thanks. That's awesome.
tell me about that whole experience. I've got so many questions, but just tell me, like, from your perspective, looking back on that work and how proud are you of it, and also, the whole fatherhood aspect of him and your connection with that.
Oh man.
I know it's a loaded question. Take your time.
No, it's great. My heart breaks for Bode every time I think about him. I have such love for him. And there were some moments where I had to fight like desperately for him in that game. I'm not gonna talk too much about it, like, because I don't want to cause drama. But like the team was amazing, and like I had long talks with Aaron Contreras, who's the main writer on Survivor. Um, God, the guy's amazing. Just his love for Star Wars is just unparalleled. And I also, my buddy Darren Ross, who I'd originally met and worked with at Blur, he had at that time ventured on his own and became a stunt coordinator, and he was working on
Ah,
Jedi Survivor,
awesome.
which was so cool because, like, I mean, we would nerd out over Star Wars on our own, like
Yeah.
without working on the game. So, like, I remember the first day I pulled in, and Darren's right there, like he was waiting for me, in the parking lot, and he's like, ah, and it was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. It was awesome. But like there were a couple of instances where there were people involved in the process who had a very different vision of Bode than I did.
Really?
Um,
Wow, I didn't know
yeah,
this. Yeah.
and I really had to fight for him. The main creative difference, I think, being that this idea that Bode was like this kind of evil guy out to like out to do evil things, and like like I'm coming after you, Cal Kestis. um,
Yeah.
and like you know I had to make a strong stance of like I absolutely disagree. I think Bode thinks he's a good guy, and I do believe he's a good guy who was placed into a horrible position. And I think for a lot of fans of the franchise, um, Bode gets a lot of hate, and he should. Like I will never. I can never hold it against a fan for being like, F you, bud, like, you killed Cordova and you did spoilers, you did all this horrible shit. Because he does. Um, but I don't think he does any of it willingly. And I think that's what really kills me. Uh, yeah, people talk a lot about, like, oh man, he's a terrible dad, and he does all this horrible stuff, but like, it was totally unnecessary and stuff. I used to be a very different guy, a very violent guy, very, very angry guy. And I've worked very hard to undo a lot of that. And my wife has been a huge part of my growth as a human being as well. But before Survivor, um, my wife and I had lost our first son in childbirth. And there was a time during that whole struggle where it felt like we were completely alone. Like there was no doctors there. Like our doctors didn't show up for hours and hours. And I would kind of walk around like if my wife was like would literally collapse from exhaustion going through everything she was going through and trying to save our son. And like I would step outside to kind of be like, is anyone going to help us? And I remember these nurses kind of I guess they knew that there wasn't much to be done, but like no one was talking to us. And there came a moment where I almost made the decision that I was going to start hurting people until a doctor arrived, which is a part of me that I'd left behind a long time ago, or thought I had. I always struggle with that, but I was,
How close?
I mean, really close. If you've never watched your wife almost dying trying to save your son, and you're hearing your son's heartbeat get fainter and fainter on the heart monitor, then I'm glad you have no idea what that's like. And I was just desperate, you know. I was desperate for someone to save my wife and my son. And I didn't understand why no one would help us. And I came just really close to a point of just like making something happen. And I think it was only for the realization that if I did that, most likely it wasn't going to make any positive difference. And the thing it would do is leave my wife alone, like truly alone. That kind of stopped me. And I wrestled for a long, long time with the idea that in that moment, maybe I had failed him, that I hadn't gone as far as I could have to try to save him. And I think I'll always wrestle with that guilt a little bit. But and then much later I got cast as Bode, and it was my first real role as a father, my first like major role where I got to be a dad. And in a way, Bode very gently showed me what would have happened if I had gone down that road. And for no other reason than that, I'll always love him. It was only once we got started with the production that I actually told like our writer Aaron, I was like, and I told him about our son, and he was like, "Oh my God, like I'm so sorry, I had no idea." But like I think it just allowed me to bring something to Bode that I hope no actor can bring, a knowing and I think a despair. And so I'll always love Bode for that, because I can completely understand how desperate he was. If I could be pushed that far, like, yeah, I totally get it. And I think it's one of the tragic stories of Star Wars, right? That love can make us do terrible things. He's a shadow of Anakin in that way, And ironically, the last week that we were shooting, which was all of the really hard stuff with Bode, the betrayal and all that, was also the week that our new child was conceived. So when my wife
Wow.
so when my wife was pregnant, I would sing Ghost Star to her belly.
You're kidding. I just got chills, man. Oh,
And
that's crazy.
when our kid was born, like we talked a little bit before we started recording, like they had really bad GERD, and like it was just miserable for them, and they wouldn't sleep and really upset. And the one thing that would get them to sleep was if I sang Ghost Star. So
Oh my God. That is unbelievable. Wow.
yeah, so all that to say, uh, Bode has a place very dear to my heart. So
And I feel like, most people won't know that story, and they'll be incredibly thankful that you did share that with everyone just then. But it does come through in the performance. There is just something special about that character, and maybe that is it. What you just said then, it's just I never thought of him as a bad man. You know, I was
yeah,
kind of secretly rooting for him the whole game.
I mean, me too, dude.
No,
Um,
seriously, I don't know.
yeah,
Um,
it's an interesting thing.
yeah.
I think a lot of the folks, when a game is about to be released, I spend a lot of sleepless nights thinking about how a character will be received.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Charles, don't even get me started. But anyway, um, but when people started being like, "Fuck you, Bud," and all stuff, part of me was like, "Oh man." But then, I get these messages from these dads being like, "I have a daughter, and I completely understand." And I guess in a lot of ways, the work and the part of my soul that I put into Bode is for those people, those dads. Um, and in a way, like I'm also very happy for those gamers who are just kind of like naively like they have no
No
idea,
idea. Yeah.
the context that Bode comes from. I do encourage fans who do feel that way to take a moment and maybe really sit and think about what Bode was really going through.
Mhm.
But also that's the wonderful thing about art, right? Like you can take it any way you want. And if you feel that strongly about Bode, then it means that something in him hurt you, which means that you had to care. And at the end of the day, that was my mission as Bode. My mission in the story of Jedi Survivor is to break Cal Kestis, right? To break the Jedi in him and send him careening dangerously close to the dark side. And to do that, I must break his spirit. And the only way I could think of to do that was to break his heart. And to do that, we have to be friends, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing I talked about with the team is like, and I feel that to do that, Bode has to care for Cal. He has to have come into this like, because my mission was never to come after Cal. My mission was Seer. Cal was simply a vehicle to get me to Seer. Seer is the target. Cal was simply a vehicle for that. And then along the way, I come to realize this guy is like all those brothers in the Jedi Order that I grew up with. The people that I used to be shoulder to shoulder with, the people that I used to fight the good fight with, who I've lost or who I've killed in that time since. And here he is, like a hope for what the future could be. And how wonderful would it be for Kata to grow up with an uncle like Cal Kestis and an aunt like Marin, right? To know that she is safe and like that she isn't an uncle who loves her, that she's not alone in this Imperial base where every time I make a mistake, she's the one that pays the price. You know, I think it's everything Bo desperately wanted, which is why that betrayal was so hard. Actually, that scene where Bode Ice's Cordova was originally written very differently. It was going to be
Mm.
kind of a thing where like Star Destroyer's overhead, Cal's like, "What the hell?" Turns around, Bode is facing off with Cordova, and Cal's like, "What?" And Bode just ices Cordova, walks out, doesn't even look back, thermal detonator over the shoulder, kind of like, and everything goes up. And I forget what was going on, but for some reason we were holding for like technical stuff. And I was just standing there talking to Tony because I'd loved Cordova from Fallen Order. Such a cool character, and I'm a big fan of Tony in general. Um, and I something about the scene just didn't sit well with me. Like I just didn't. It felt too easy for me as Bode because we never get to see any of Bode's conflict. We never get to see any of that stuff. That's all kind of like stuff that for me is just headcanon, right? So, and if that's the way it goes out, yeah, it's a brutal and very sudden betrayal, but like there's nothing else there. It's like a switch got flipped and Bode doesn't give a crap, and that's the end of that. Um, and so I was talking to Tony and I was like, just I wish there was something else we could do here, and da da da. And we got talking, and so I just like we just started playing with like, well, what else could the scene be? And and we got to this place of like Cordova putting his hand on my shoulder, like you don't have to do this, son. Um, and what I love about that moment is Cordova as a Jedi, one of his force gifts is foresight, right? So he can see the future, the road that Bode is on. And he'd be well within his rights to just cut Bode down right there. And instead, he does what a Jedi Master does. And he gives Bode love and an out, right? He gives Bode the chance to make a better choice. And for me as Bode, I think he's been building up this moment, trying to convince himself that this is the only way to do it. And if Cordova were to confront him with violence, that would make his job so much easier. And instead, Cordova does the thing that like Bode is dreading, right? He puts his hand on his shoulder the way Bode's master would have done back in the day, like a touch that he has not had in a long, long time, and treats him like a Padawan. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like a student. And now there's this sudden fork where there's the very real possibility he could turn back. He could give up what he's doing. He could drop his gun. He could beg for mercy. And they might take him in. But with no guarantee of Kata's safety. And that is the part of it that he cannot have. And so he doubles down and kills Cordova, who's giving him this outstretched hand, because he knows in doing so Cal will never forgive him for this, and Bode will never forgive himself. Because he's come to love all these guys, you know what I mean? But he's afraid that if he doesn't do this now, he may go back. He may have a moment of weakness and fail Kata, right? So now he's committed, because in doing so, Cal will never take him back. And that assures that he stays on the cause of trying to keep Kata safe. But it kills him to do it, Like it costs him his soul, I think.
But that changed a lot.
Well, what was really cool was we were just kind of
Uh,
messing around, like doing what actors in theater do, which is like, well, what could we do with this? And Darren Ross, the stunt coordinator, who's also a massive Star Wars fan, was watching, and then went over and talked to Aaron and Dory, and was like, hey, guys, can you come look at this? And like they watched what Tony and I were doing, and we had like a real quick discussion, and then they were like, let's do it. And I'm so grateful, to the team for for doing that. It's not a lot, but for a moment you see Bode waver. And I think that was so critical, both for me as Bode, but also for Tony. Like Cordova, you can say what you want. That is a Jedi Master's ending, right? He ends trying to show compassion for the person who might mean him mortal harm. I cannot think of a higher virtue, you know? And I love that if Cordova had to go out, he he goes out that way, because that is who he is through and through. And I loved that Tony was so cool about just like playing around with things and seeing what happened. And then so amazing that the team at Respawn was like, let's see what happens. Um,
Thank you for fighting for the character, man. I mean, it's as a
I like
fan, you
I
know.
try not to. I never want to be that actor who like makes waves. But if there's something where like I feel really strongly about something, I will if nothing else, I have to say something. And then I feel like, yeah, good, we don't care. Then that's that's it. But at least I've said my piece. You know what I mean? Um, I never want to feel like I've abandoned a character. Like
Mm.
I'm too invested and they mean too much to me. Like it's really important to me that I try to do them justice. Try. It's all I can do. But if I at least walk out of it going like I gave it everything I have and I fought for them every step of the way, then it's worth it for sure.
I got to ask you about Charles in Red Dead 2. We haven't really discussed that role.
Mm.
You said you were nervous about the reception. How the hell could you be nervous about that performance? And I mean, surely, man, the confidence has grown over the years for you with banger after banger of performance. I mean, surely now you're confident enough to go, okay, Jubei's going to be well received. I've done a good
No,
job.
no,
No,
definitely not. Um, well, and also like it's funny because I get nervous about it because they're like, I've spent enough time with these characters that they've become like dear friends of mine. You know what I mean? And of course, I don't want people shitting all over them, unless it's like Vice Admiral Rampart, in which case you should shit all over them, and that means I've
that's a
done my
nasty
job.
guy. Yeah,
You
that's
know?
the one. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I love them each for different wonderful reasons, but
Yeah.
it's also as much as I get nervous about it, the truth of the matter is like it's not my business what anyone feels about my characters, right? That's totally up to them. I don't know, probably the ego in me as an actor wants people to like the characters that I play, like because they mean a lot to me, so I hope they mean a lot to you. But if I really sit down and think about it, like, and the art that we're doing, like, that's not my job. I
Mm.
I try to leave a project feeling like I've fought for my character as hard as I can, and that I've told the story I came to tell the best I could, and in most cases that I've supported my lead actor, that I've supported the lead character of this story the best I can with whatever I'm supposed to be doing in this story, however I'm supposed to be influencing their journey. Um, but it's hard, you never know how things are going to go, and I think with Charles especially, I mean when I was originally invited to audition for Charles, I was like, no, I'm not Native American. I can't. No, absolutely not. Um, and then I think they asked again, and my agent was like, look, they've already recast this role like multiple times,
Wow.
and they're no like they went through Native American and then black actors, and like the last couple actors they had were of various ethnicities that were not Charles's actual ethnicity. So they are deliberately opening up the casting pool. And I was like, oh man. Okay. And so I went in and did it. And like, I thought I was auditioning for like LA Noir 2. Because I think in
How
the
funny.
audition, yeah, because I think in the audition I was like loading barrels of liquor into like a truck or something. Like,
Mm.
like, and I was like, oh, this is like Prohibition era or something. Like, what? Like, I don't know what's going on here. And they didn't even tell me when I got to set. Uh, no one would tell me what the hell I was working on. And then,
Wow.
Rob Weedoff comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, has anyone told you what you're working on yet?" And I was like, "Well, I know now. Holy shit!"
Uh,
Um,
oh, he's a legend.
he's and like one of the sweetest guys.
Yeah, he
Um,
is.
I think like I'd made some decisions with who I thought Charles was, and I wasn't sure how they'd resonate. You know what I mean? Like he's always an outsider, no matter where he goes. He doesn't belong. No matter how desperately he wants to, and no matter how hard he tries to, and he contributes and stuff, but never feels like he's been really become a part of that crew, right? Um, and I think a lot of that came from my own personal experience being multiracial myself. But I don't know. I think it's also like when you're on a stage with Roger Clark and Rob Weedoff and I mean like the work that Peter Blomquist does as Micah is sublime. He is that man is bananas. Like that man is.
He's pretty funny too.
Oh, well, and that's the thing. Like, you'd be in the green
Uh,
room, we'd all be like talking and stuff and having fun, and he's always saying either something incredibly sweet or incredibly just like, "What the hell did you just say?" And everyone's laughing and stuff. And like,
yeah.
we all got our boots on and stuff, and then we'd be called, and like people would start strapping on their gun belts and stuff, and there's like the green room, and then you cross this hallway, and you're like in this threshold, and then you're inside the volume where the actual recording happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've said this before, but like, I swear, like, I would walk in sometimes and I'd happen to be walking right next to Peter, and like, I'd feel the temperature of the room drop as he like embodied Micah Bell. You know what I mean? Like, you could just feel this, you could feel him become nasty. Um,
That's a
it,
kind of that feels uncomfortable, sort of.
oh no, it was, but like in a
Yeah.
wonderful way. Like
Yeah,
he's
in a good
just
way.
that
Yeah.
good. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I don't know how he does that. It was crazy. And this is, I'll just say this because I thought this was wild too. I don't, from what I understand, like I haven't played it, but Steve Palmer's character Bill, by some people, kind of not taken too terribly seriously. There was a scene we shot. It must have been like halfway through the shoot
Mm.
or more, where it was I think it was a pickup of us like all in wagons like riding through the snow, which so it must have been from the beginning. And Bill Charles is driving the is in the wagon directly behind Bill's, and Bill's horse like collapses from the cold. And Steve jumped out of the wagon and with like a horrifying fury started beating this dying horse, like just just enraged that this animal was failing him. You know what I mean? um and I'm so glad that moment happened because it locked in for me just how scary Bill Williamson could be in a way that I think as Charles I never would have appreciated before then. Like Steve is awesome and clearly handles himself, but like I had never seen that rage
Oh,
from Bill before, and I was like, oh, I mean, he's an enforcer, you know? Like you get him wild and crazy enough, and he'll murder anybody. And like he's like a juggernaut, you know, and I mean his avatar is like he's this like barrel of a man, you know. Um, but that was a moment where I was like, note to self, don't ever make Steve angry. Like he scared the shit out of me that day. Like it was deeply disquieting. You know what I mean? And once again, one of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet. And like to talk to him, you would never in 100 years think he had that in him. It's very much like Peter, but
so
man,
is it hard to play a character that doesn't feel like they fit in anywhere? But I'm guessing you felt like you fit in with the cast, right? Because it feels like it was a family, but maybe that's just the camaraderie you guys have had over the years coming through now.
I mean, I never feel like I fit in anywhere. Like that's just part of who I am, I think, by nature. And that was definitely a part of me that in Charles I pushed forward.
Yeah.
Um, that desire to belong, but never being enough, you know.
Mhm.
In Charles' example, you know, never being Native American enough, never being black enough. Um, like I love that crew and like I consider them dear friends and like Rob and I were texting just a day or two ago and you know Roger will call me in the middle of nowhere and we'll just talk for a bit. It's great. Like I love spending time with them. Um, but it's interesting and I don't know if this is because parts of Charles stay with me even when I'm kind of hanging with them as Noshir or what, but like I'm always a little bit on the outside. You know what I mean? And not in a bad way. I just not, no one ever like no one is ever discluding me. If anything, I find myself kind of taking a small step back probably. But yeah, it's interesting. My characters are almost always in some way shining a light on some part of me that is like, that's why. Why is that? You know, why is that something you do? Um,
That's fascinating.
yeah.
Man. Yeah.
It's been interesting. I mean, Charles taught me a lot. Like to this day, there's definitely moments where you know, I'll be faced with a challenge and like there is the easy way or the comfortable way and then there's the right way. And Charles is often the voice that encourages me to do it the right way. So I love that dude. Um, but yeah, I think in a cast of such incredible, dynamic, brilliant actors, I really didn't know how Charles would do. You know what I mean? He's like he's steadfast and he's committed, but like he doesn't usually make waves. He's like he sits back, he watches, and if something happens, you'll see Charles go into action. And when Charles moves, like it is on. But it's not like he's a firecracker just like going off and going crazy all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I wasn't sure what to think and I think especially because I was fortunate enough to spend so much time with Roger and Rob on the stage. They're legendary. You know what I mean? It's it's humbling to share a space with them and like they're amazing, crazy talented, wonderful people, crazy gifted actors. And you know, you're just like this is what legends are made of. It's
But
wild.
it must be interesting because they're so different as performers and characters. No?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's funny like in social circles like when we're, you know, as just people, it is funny how we as individuals oftentimes kind of seem to fit certain niches that very much resemble the gang. Um, it's interesting. I don't know why
Yeah.
that is. And I think part of it is like as an actor, part of your job is to bring some honesty, some sincerity from yourself to your characters, right? So, um, even our if we are not in fact outlaws, there is some part of us that maybe for the good of society we tend to keep in check. That that comes out in those characters, but it's there, it doesn't like come from nothing. Um, it's living somewhere. It's living somewhere, under Roger Clark. It's living somewhere beneath Rob Wiedoff's skin. I do believe that.
What can you tell me about Sekiro, your work on that game?
Oh man. Uh that was an awesome game. That was the first only, I think. No, but one of the few video game leads I've ever had the chance to do. Um and it was awesome. I had a wonderful time. That was an interesting project because the Japanese and English were being kind of recorded almost simultaneously. So there were a lot of times where we would have an ambassador from FromSoft there, kind of giving the English translation of what they thought, that script was going to be, and we would go forward with that, and then like, like the line would be like, the line they would give Sekiro for the English would be like, as you command, or something like that. You know what I mean? And then like we'd get back the Japanese version once that came through, and like and their version of Sekiro, it's just gyoi, which is like sir. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
fuck, well now we got to re-record this because there's no, because the lip flap was completely based on the Japanese. So we had to take that and
Okay.
like, and like figure out like, well, what is that now?
That's
Um,
tough.
it was really it was tough, but like I had never done like anime dubs or anything like that, and I think I didn't appreciate the work that actors who do dubs do, like the art form that it is. I knew it was hard, but like I didn't appreciate the artistry of it, and that was, I think, a really great punishing, demonstration for me of like just how hard it is and just how much you have to put into it to make it not suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, the other part that I thought was really interesting is it's a Japanese company. It's a Japanese game based in Japanese, steeped in Japanese culture. And then and on top of all that, you add like samurai and like ninjutsu, like, or ninja aesthetics, right? Well, stoicism is a huge component of that in both Japanese culture and in the period even more so. And then you take that character and he barely talks, and like the stoicism just kind of like boom 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 boom. And I think in Japanese culture that really works because like that is a universal construct. Like in Japan, everyone gets it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and originally, a lot of the stuff in Sekiro was written with that kind of stoicism in mind. And I asked my LA team, like, can I inject a little bit more emotion into English Sekiro? Because the
You might need it
stoicism,
versus the yeah.
well, because the stoicism that in Japanese is like, got it, like I mean, like even just the words you choose, the way you say something, and like the
Different
grammar,
cultures. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
completely gives a tone and tells a story all its own that has an identity that like no one needs to like wrap their brain around it. It just is. We don't have that here, and so stoic delivery can come across as uncaring or like worse, boring or uninterested.
Hmm?
And that was like something I desperately wanted to avoid.
Of course.
So like lines where when Sekiro kills the owl and like I forget what the name is, but he lists the technique and then says like, essentially like thank you for teaching me. Like essentially because of you and what you taught me, like I could use the technique you taught me to kill you. You know what I mean? This is
Yes.
also his father figure. And originally the way it was written, it was kind of, whatever the move is, and it's like like thank you and farewell or whatever. And like it was very kind of harsh. And it was moments like that where I was like, he's also saying goodbye to his father. As much as there may have been adversity there, like he just killed his own father who took him off a battlefield and trained him to survive. And
Mm.
he's now taken the technique that his father taught him and used it against him. There's got to be something there. And, they allowed me to put that little bit of like, I'm sorry, into it. And I think that really worked. So
Was that with Miyazaki?
I didn't get to work with Miyazaki directly. Um,
But
my
did he direct that game?
he I believe so, but he directed the
Uh-huh.
Japanese team. I mean, I would have loved to have worked with him directly. My directors were mostly um, Dara and Kevin, and they were both just awesome. Like, and gave me a lot of grace, because once again, I was like fighting for some things that I thought were important. Um, and they could have easily been like, shut the fuck up and say the line. You know what I mean? And they didn't, for which I'm super grateful. Um, the only thing on Sekiro that bothered me
Hmm.
was that we were not allowed to say the Japanese names pronounced the way a Japanese person would say them. You know what I mean? So like, not that I ever had to say my own name, but like Sekiro was like Sekiro. You know what I mean? Um,
Why is that? Is there
I don't know. I think maybe it was this idea that because the English version is catering to an English audience, we need to make it easier for them to understand. I don't know. Like
yeah.
you used to see that it's changed a lot, but it used to be that like in even anime dubs, right? Like the English pronunciation for Japanese names was just like it was like a horror movie. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
can't tell
yeah.
you like how many times I would say a name the Japanese way, not intentionally, and then they'd have to be like, can we do it again? Like,
Oh,
it's Yoshinobu. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
surely
And I'd
that's
have to be like,
changed now, no? Surely
I hope
that's
so. I
no,
mean,
you don't think it has have you noticed a change at all or not
well, I
really?
mean, for sure in Ghost of Yotei,
That's what I mean, yeah.
quite a bit. Like,
Yeah.
and they're like
The way
Yumi
you
are
say kitsune was just beautiful. The
well,
way that
so Yumi was our language consultant for Ghost of Yotei, and she is awesome. And like it was so important to the team and so important to her that we said those things right. So like we would do it. Like literally, I would say a line, and if it had like a really, I don't know, sekigahara or whatever, like for the most part, I didn't have a problem because while I'm not fluent, I do
you're
speak
pretty good.
some
Yeah.
Japanese. So like, I'd like turn to Yumi like, "Did I fuck it up?" And she'd be like, "Oh, thank God." But it was like super helpful, like to have someone there who not only understands the language but the culture and like what we're trying to do and like because also there's sometimes where pronouncing it exactly correctly was hard because it conflicted with English intonation. You know what I mean? Like if that word happens to come at the end of a line and in English that line goes up because it's a question, but in the Japanese pronunciation it the line the intonation is on that first part and then it
Yeah.
like and so she'd have to kind of help us navigate how we do that while honoring the Japanese nomenclature and the Japanese names the best we can. And she was the best. I'm a huge Yumi fan. Yumi, if you ever see this, I love you. She saved my bacon more than once. So,
Uh,
yeah,
and then
she's.
last one, Spider-Man 2, Mysterio.
Oh yeah.
What a great character that was as well.
Oh
Man, you
man, that
just
was such a
how many
treat.
good characters have you had the fortune to?
I'm
Man,
very lucky. I mean, and honestly, like it's I'm very lucky to get to work with brilliant writers.
but they're
Like
also great games, man. You're picking great the projects you're
I
getting
am
as
picking
well.
shit.
I know.
I will
Look,
audition for anything. You know what I mean? I'm just very lucky that games that are awesome, they were like, hey, let's take a chance on this turd and see what happens. So I'm very grateful for that. Mysterio was really cool. I did not expect them to tell Mysterio's story like that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
me either.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun. It's interesting. I've had so many fans come up to me and talk about how, his line about, um, Spider-Man will always be a hero the way Mysterio will always be a villain. It's when we start looking behind the masks that things get messy. Um,
Mm,
how much that line has meant to them.
mm. Great line.
Yeah. And I think what's really interesting and also heartbreaking is I've had so many fans who, for example, are non-binary or trans, who talk about how that line hits them so hard because it is about like
Oh,
appearances, and the judgments and the things that people put on them without giving you the chance, without taking the time to get to know or understand you. You know what I mean? And how for someone who's fighting so desperately to just be their authentic self, how painful that can be. And so that some folks look, I mean, how many of us wear uncomfortable clothes or get a really stupid, ridiculously expensive haircut or buy absurdly expensive glasses because of this social pressure to like fit in, like the ridiculous things we do to try to belong and like, like I'm one of you guys. I'm cool, right? I'm cool. Please accept me. For my mind, the courage it takes, I mean, because that kind of societal pressure is immense, right? And to know yourself and champion yourself so fully that you are willing to go against all of these societal norms to be true to yourself, I think that's the bravest thing a person can do. And especially right now, folks are getting so much hate for it, right? Which is disgusting. Uh, so I'm, while it partly breaks my heart that anyone has to identify with that line, um, that's why we tell stories, right? That's why myths exist to let the reader or the listener know that they're not alone, that someone has gone through a journey that was similar, that someone has gone through a hardship, that they are not the only ones who are trying to find their way. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're doing, and that's why stories are so important. So
that line is that writing is so great in that game, and that line, as you said, because so many people can take it so many different ways, and it can have
yeah,
the same impact for different
yeah.
people for different reasons. It's just brilliant.
It was one of the things that was really cool was the scene where Miles comes in and Quentin Beck dons the helmet, right? Um, it was originally written to be like, he's full on bad now, and it's like the name is Mysterio, and he puts this thing on him, and grows in size and all that stuff. Um, and I was actually going through a real struggle in my life where family that I cared a lot about was not willing to accept the fact that I had grown, you know, that I had changed from who I used to be, which is like this hothead, completely insane, mentally unstable very volatile person that I'd done a lot of work on myself and I'd matured and I was actually finding success in what I'm doing and all that stuff, and they just didn't want to allow me to change. And it was really hurtful. And I thought about how for so many ex-cons, for a lot of them, the thing that drives them back to crime is the fact that those closest to them aren't willing to give them a chance, you know?
Mm.
And so I asked the team there, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Lindsay who was directing, who's my favorite person ever.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, would you guys be willing for me to try something where instead of it being about like, fuck you, Spider-Man, it's actually like a release, like he's giving up. Fine, like you want me to be this horrible person, even though I keep telling you that I'm not. I keep trying to be an upstanding guy, and you guys just won't let me live that life. So fine, I'll be what you so desperately want me to be, and like I will finally get to stop fighting. And so instead he starts off angry and then it's kind of like just like at least I don't have to struggle anymore. And so the helmet coming on becomes like almost like a relief, you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's not what he wanted, but at least he's not having to fight this Sisyphusian battle anymore. He's given up, and now you get what you've paid for. You know what I mean? Um, I love that they gave me the chance to try that, and you never know what's gonna make it into the final take, and I'm so grateful that they let that be, his journey. That was awesome.
Man, you've got some hell of a stories. You'll promise me you'll come back for another chat because I feel like we could do this another 3 hours, man.
Oh man. Well, and I'm sorry I've taken up so much of your time. Wow, we did talk for a long time. It's been awesome, man. No, I love this. This is cool, and thank you for asking me so many cool questions. It's
Thank
been a
you,
good
man. Is
time.
there anything you want to say to the fans of your work over the years before I let you go?
Oh my God. I'm still like I've got like my stomach's just roiling. I'm so nervous. Um, you think I'd have chilled out by now? Um, I think for a lot of folks right now, we are going through a very, very hard time. A lot of people are struggling. And if you're not struggling, you know that people are struggling. You have people in Gaza being just decimated. You have people in Sudan who are starving to death. You have misery everywhere, and the people in our communities who desperately need our support are instead finding the weight of the government levied against them. Now more than ever, it's important to do small acts of good. You don't need to be a superhero. You don't need to give $1 million to charity. Like small acts of kindness right now go a long, long way. And I think those small acts of kindness, small acts of mercy, and moments where you take the time to try to understand a person before you levy judgment at them, are how you fight tyranny at the ground level. And right now, we desperately need that fight. So um, I hope people will choose, as Charles would encourage me to do, and don't take the easy route, do the hard thing and fight for good.
That's
That's
a
what I'll
great
say.
message. That's a great message, man. Thank you for your time, brother. Honestly, it's a real pleasure, real honor to have you on, and thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing some of those stories. I think it'll resonate with a lot of people, as it has with me.
Your time's been a real gift, man, and thank you for being so warm and welcoming and gracious. I love chatting with you. If I ever work again, hopefully we'll have more to talk
What do
about.
you mean if you ever work again? What do you mean? What are you talking
Who knows,
about?
man? I might come live in your garage next month. You never know. You never.
No, 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 no. You'll be working till you're 90. All
I
right.
gotta. There's at least one project. I don't think it's gonna be out till like 2027, but I think it's gonna be a real good one. So grateful to
Nice.
be working.
Nice. Nice. PCAP?
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Because
Good
that's
fun.
where you belong, man.
Oh,
That's where
it's
you belong.
my
Really,
favorite way
you
to
are
tell
just.
stories.
Last one before I let you go. Can Bode or Jubei or one of your characters, anyone you choose, say something to Dan to finish this off?
Some hard decisions to make there.
Who does he pick?
We'll go with my man Charles. One of my favorite quotes from him is when Arthur confesses that he's dying. And Charles says, in a way, it is a gift to know. In a way, you are lucky. And what he's trying to say is, for most of us, we never know when we'll go out. And Arthur is obviously in a terrible place. And Charles somehow has the wisdom to point out that he now knows that he's living on borrowed time. And so now is the time to choose the way he's going to go out. And this is for a lot of folks where they end up committing to high honor, right? And I think the truth is like we're all living on borrowed time. And I hope that we'll make the decision to leave a legacy that we can be proud of, that the people that come after us can be grateful for. Because none of us are guaranteed tomorrow.
That's it, man. We must live in the now, hey?
Absolutely. And do our best with what we're given.
That's it.